Hey everybody, Mungo Dark Matter here, and it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day today. Uh, Tomorrow starts Thanksgiving week vacation, off all the whole week, and so I'm going to be vlogging every day, and so I'm looking forward to that. One big thing is I've lost my little tripod that I use to do vlogs in the car. It attaches to the steering wheel. I think it's in the car somewhere, but not sure, so I've got to find that. Well, the day went pretty well, and now I'm setting up for my stream tonight, and I better get going. I'm running a little bit late. Well, not late yet, but in a couple minutes I'll be running late. It says we're starting soon, so we must be. I guess I should turn the camera on. Oh man, my neck. My neck. I wrenched my neck just then. I think I must have slept walk the other night and slept an hour standing on my head or something. My neck just ain't right today. Well, you know, the first fish I ever caught, I was probably 12 or something. And I've been fishing for some time, didn't catch anything. And then caught a fish. I finally catch one. And the reason I caught one was because, oh, it's delicious. Eat it. It's so delicious. The reason I caught it was because I had forgotten to put a bobber on my line, and I was reeling it back in to put a bobber on it. So I want to get the hook snagged on the bottom. And when I did that, a largemouth bass came and just went after the, I think I had a minnow as a bait. It was either a minnow or a worm. It was probably a minnow. It went after it. Got it. That was the first fish I caught. I used to fish all the time, like particularly when I was in junior high. I used to play violin. I was terrible at the violin. And I remember I would be sitting there practicing, and I would always have like this coffee can or bucket full of minnows there, because I'd get them, and instead of letting them go or something, I'd keep them for the following weekend, because I would go fishing every weekend pretty much. When I was in junior high, there were two things that I did a lot of. One was fishing and one was playing the violin. I didn't really do a lot per se of playing the violin. Did a lot of fishing, fished regularly. I was supposed to practice violin regularly, but like a lot of kids, I didn't practice regularly. I was supposed to practice like 30 minutes a day, so that would end up being, you know, I think a minimum of 2.5 or 3 hours a week you had to practice. And I would always put it off. And so I was always trying to catch up. So I might practice one day for 30 minutes, and then on the weekend I'd have to catch up on my practice. Also, like on Saturday, I usually went fishing, I believe. So maybe Sunday I was catching up with the violin. Well, because I went fishing all the time, I would buy minnows to use as bait, and you can't just buy one minnow. You had to buy like maybe a half dozen of them or something, and they last you a while. So I'd go fishing, I'd be done, I'd save the minnows until the following week. So I'd keep them in like a bucket or a coffee can or something. And I would sit that bucket or coffee can next to where I would practice violin. And I started to notice, I would hear a noise, I'd hear a splash when I'd be playing. When I'd stop playing, I'd look down. Minnows are in there, no big deal. Start playing again, I'd hear another splash. So I kept playing, and I looked over when I heard the next splash, and I saw these minnows were trying to jump out of the bucket. Now I assumed they were trying to commit suicide because I was such a bad violinist, which might have been some of their reasons for doing this. But years later, when I was like in high school, I was down around the creek, and I noticed what happens when it rains is this
creek gets really deep. A lot of times you go down and you look at the creeks, and a lot of the creek is just a small stream, or there are parts of it that are dry a lot of times. But when it rains, the creek fills up. That's because it's kind of like a drainage system. And when it rains, it goes through the creeks into rivers and into lakes and bigger bodies of water. So I would go down to the creek when it was raining, and it would be, it looked like there were rapids, and it was really deep, and it was really forceful, rushing water everywhere. But usually it was kind of, there were a few areas that were kind of deep most of the time. There were a few areas that were just trickling. There were pools there. But there was a lot of it that was just dry creek bed. So after it rained, maybe, like if it rained the day before or so, the creek would start to lower. The level of the creek would start to lower. And I noticed that pools would form, because the creek bed is uneven. So the deepest area of the creek bed, there may always be water in, or in parts of the creek, there would be deep areas where there was always water. But then there were other areas where it would dry out, but there were yet other areas that were a little low, that when it stopped raining for a day or two, there would still be water in them. And I would see minnows in these pools sometimes. And I noticed they were jumping. And what I figured out was, they're trying to jump to get back into the main body of water so they don't die. So that's their instinct. And really, all of that time that I was playing the violin, and I thought these minnows didn't like my violin playing, they were just trying to get back into the main body of water. And that is how minnows stay alive. That's how they survive.
They thought they were in a little puddle, and they were trying to jump out so they could get back into the main body of water. I caught a pike! Oh, yes. That is what I wanted to do. Okay, that is cool. It's a new record. Well, it's a record because it's the only one I've caught. I can sell that for $26. I caught a pike. How long is it? It's a half a meter. I can't even keep that. That's not even legal to keep. A half a meter. It's got to be like close. I think it has to be 28 inches to keep. Oh, well. At least I caught one. I'll throw it back. I'll sell it. And I'll get my $26.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.